We're the CANA girls.
Welcome to our podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Are We Losers?
So sit back and relax, enjoy the show.
Hi guys, so this is our first episode of our podcast. I think we are all really looking forward to sort of having a conversation about this topic. It was an interesting idea that came to us, so I think it'd be a good idea for us to kind of delve in deep. And we're talking about whether or not we're losers in life, losers in love. I mean, Natalie, do you want to get started on whether or not you think you're a loser?
Tell us a bit about yourself, Natalie.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
your age, what you do.
Okay, so I'm Natalie. I'm 34 years old. I work for the Health Service Trust. I'm involved in a lot of hobbies and creativity. And yeah, I'm just looking to live life full of adventures, travelling, and achieving what I can achieve, which sometimes I feel that I'm not quite there, or I haven't got it all together, or there's some things that I want to experience that I might not, and I don't know if it comes to confidence, monetary things, or just opportunities basically.
Okay, so would you consider yourself in today's society a loser? Whether it be in life, love, friendship, whatever, would you consider yourself a loser?
Life in general, sometimes I feel like a loser, as in like I haven't achieved what I should achieve by a certain age. Not that there's any measure up, but I just feel like certain things with like still living at home, finance, could I have done better in my younger life? Could I have done things differently? Or is it just circumstance that's just put me in that position? And now I'm feeling more and more as I get older, I'm turning 35 in a couple of months' time. Could I have done more? Should I have done more? What my future's looking like? And sometimes it does put me in a like, am I a loser? Could I have done more for myself? And that's how I'm feeling myself. So I need to know. Sometimes I just don't know what direction I'm going in. Am I just living life because it's easier just to live life and plain sailing? Or have I created the situation for myself? Or is it just because of lack of experiences or lack of opportunity I haven't achieved those things, and then my life has gone in a different direction? So I just feel like, for me, I feel like a bit of I've let myself down, or a letdown, because I've not achieved that. I haven't got my own place. I haven't even owned a place. I've got a car, which is great, and you know, that's such a success, because obviously there's so many people that can't drive and things like that, and so many people sacrifice that they don't drive and haven't got a car to succeed in other areas and make more money that way. But is it because of circumstances that I've not achieved those things that I want to achieve on the side? And you know, I've got certain health issues, you know, and you know, for me, my car is important to me. And you know, how can I achieve that way, or where am I going, basically?
So, sorry, just FYI, it's really hot today, so we've got the fan blowing, so apologies for the sound. Okay, so my name's Adobia, I'm 33 years old, and in response to whether or not do I feel like a loser, and in response to the comments that Natalie's made, I do and don't feel like a loser. So I do in certain aspects, in the sense of, I feel like even though I have achieved things in life, so like you said, I have a car, I have my own place, I have a business, I feel like I should have done more than what I have actually done. And I feel like I wasted a lot of my teen years trying to figure out what I needed to do. And had I had a clear vision for my life when I was like 19, I'd probably be more successful now than I am. So in that aspect, sometimes I do feel like I am a bit of a loser, because I feel like, not that I'm not grateful for the life that I have, but I feel like my life could have been better had I have had the necessary direction when I was in my teens.
Yes, I agree with that.
That's completely understandable. So I'm Ashley, and I think I am a loser.
How old are you?
I'm 34 years old. So I've always placed a lot of value on my education and my career. That's how I've always felt like not a loser. So I spent several years training to be a teacher and then a university lecturer. And then I had an epiphany where I realised I really wasn't happy doing those things. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And I sort of went into a depression and I quit my job and I quit my career. So now I don't have my career. I'm unemployed at the moment. I don't have my own house. I live with my parents. I don't have a car and I am not married. So by society's definition, I am a loser. So I struggle with those feelings a lot of the time, because I wonder now where my sense of value is now that I don't have the career that I always wanted. So I completely understand where the other girls are coming from.
It also plays a part, I think, if we were perhaps raised differently. I mean, I come from a single parent household.
Me too.
So yeah, and I think you were raised with both your parents.
Yeah.
But I can only talk on my own perspective. So I was raised in a single parent household, and I sometimes do think, had my dad been more present, not that my dad wasn't present, but he obviously didn't live with us. Had my dad been more present, would I have had that sort of balance whereby I would have focused more on what I wanted to achieve in life rather than just kind of living. I don't know how to explain it. Just kind of like plodding along. I feel like I didn't really have the necessary. I'm not saying that like my mum didn't do an amazing job. She did, but I just don't feel like I had the necessary guidance at that crucial age of like 16, 17 when you're leaving secondary school, going to either college or sixth form, and trying to figure out that's the time you try and sort of figure out what it is that you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And I think if I had the necessary guidance, and just not even like someone sort of telling me like this is what but just having someone to talk to and asking me the question of, well, what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? What is it that you want to achieve? I do think that I would be in a better position. I think I'd be in a better position than I am now.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, from people outside looking in, they would say, oh, I'm quite successful because of what I've been able to do. But I feel like I could have done more. And like I said, I don't feel like a loser completely, but I do in a certain aspect, because I feel like, well, maybe had I had the guidance, maybe I'd be married by now and sort of have that kind of like marriage than kids, rather than having. I've got a son, by the way, so I had him quite young. So I had my son when I was 22. So I was now thinking back on it, 22 is very young to be a mum, but I kind of just took it on board, and to be honest, being a parent is what kind of drove me to want to have that financial independence, really, and try to be a success in life, because I realised that, well, I've got a person who I'm responsible for, and I don't want him to struggle or suffer because, you know, I'm not bringing enough money or whatever it is. So it's difficult to not feel like a loser, but I think everybody has elements of. I don't think anyone feels like a complete winner all the time, and I think it also, we have to take into consideration that we're all black females as well. It's not like the path is laid out for us easy. We have to kind of jump over hurdles and obstacles to kind of get to where we want to anyway. So it's a difficult sort of thing.
But never I'd imagined like being 34 and I'm still in the same position. It's just as the years go on, I just feel so much like, what will happen to me? Where is my life going? I mean, I'm not married. I don't have any children. I've not had a lot of relationships. And from the perspective I see for the headed-going future, I don't see any future at the moment. It's bad because I shouldn't be saying it. But I just feel like now, like any future at the moment, I don't have no perspective for finding someone. Because even now, as in 2020, especially with all this pandemic going on, it's difficult to find relationships. Nobody wants to meet, and everything's out there, and you know, there's so much change in sexuality and things like that, and you know, and just going on a path and will I find that? Would I have someone?
Yeah.
And even if I did find someone, would we have enough money? Money isn't everything, but you need money. It helps to sort things out, to set your life up. And relationships struggle in that way.
Yeah,
will I find struggling? Will we find that we'll be happy together? You know, is my salary enough to make money to join together? Have we got enough savings? You know, what positions we'll be in, and so much with culture and, you know, all those sorts of things.
Did you feel like you're a loser in love as well then?
I feel like I'm losing love because I've not had successful relationships. I've always had, you know, one-time daters, and I've had a few small relationships. Obviously, the ones that could have been more successful was to deal with my parent, because I was brought up like semi-single family. So I was brought with my mum, with my stepfather. He wasn't always there. He didn't exactly encourage dating, and my mum always wanted me to get married when I've had my career, when I've graduated, when I've working, but unfortunately it just hasn't happened. You meet so many people, but obstacles in my way has stopped me from progressing to be to have a long lasting relationship. And, you know, I've always felt, because I come from a single parent family, my mum's been on her own for some time now. She's with someone now, but all those years when I met loads of people, it was always like, I could never take my mum home, to never take this guy home to meet my mum, because she would just criticise it and she'd want me to know better. And did I feel like I was, because I was with someone, do I feel guilty because my mum's on her own? Those sort of things come into element. Silly now thinking about it, but, you know, was I silly for those things, or was it because my mum's had such a hard time and the breakup and things like that, you know, as that got to play with it. And then I got to a point where, like, okay, I'm single, I can single mingle, and, you know, but, you know, single mingle, but it got to a point where, like, you know, my friends and my close friends had boyfriends. What do? Where there's my life? I never had those experiences. It's getting to a point now, like, what am I actually going to do? And then every now and then it's like, have you met anybody? Every time we go out. But it was always a battle when I was going out at those times. Oh, you're going out again. Don't you think you should be staying in? Aren't you tired? All those kind of excuses for not going out. And it was just like, every time you're meeting someone. And every time you meet someone, and I don't want to come home and say that I met someone, I'm going out with some guy. Because then it would be like the pressure of, what's happening? Are you in a relationship? Where did they go? So I just stopped saying.
I mean, I definitely am a loser in love. 100%. 100%.
But you've got a son you fell in love.
Wait. I have had... The thing is, okay, so my experience is slightly different to yours. I have had long-term relationships. Most... Throughout my teen years and early 20s... Early and late 20s, let me say, I have always been in a long-term relationship. It's only sort of now that I'm kind of... I mean, I was seeing someone for a while, but I'm only now sort of thinking about, dating and, like, serial dating, like dating a couple of people. But I had never really had that experience when I was younger. For me, growing up, it was never a thing of, I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. It was just kind of, if I had a boyfriend, I had to be respectful about it. Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't just bring any guy home. It would be someone that I'd been with for a while. So, I mean, my second sort of serious relationship happens to be my son's dad, who we were together for like 6 years. And that was a complete shit show. It was a complete shit show. And it was, at the time, I didn't know what it was to be in a relationship. I didn't know what we had to do. We were both young and stupid. And then on top of that, we've got a kid. So... now in my 30s, I'm now starting to fully understand what I require from a man in a relationship. And if that standard isn't met, then I'm not going to stay in a situation. And I feel like I always kind of end up with people who, like, need fixing. I'm always with a person who is slightly damaged because they've had a traumatic either upbringing, or they've had a traumatic relationship, or something has gone awry, or they've never been in a serious relationship, but I'm the first serious relationship for them. And it's always like I have to kind of like build this guy to be to the standard that I need. And I feel like
such a lot of effort.
Yeah, I feel like at my age now, I'm just not going to do that. I'm just not. If you don't come to me already prepackaged, then forget it. I feel like I'm done trying to fix people or trying to fix men. It's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
I feel like my responsibility is to make sure that my son grows up to be the best man he can be.
Yeah.
But it's not up to me to make sure someone else's son is the best man he needs to be.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Yeah, exactly.
In love of late and prior, I am a loser. I have never found a guy who has really, really understood me and understood what I needed from them. And I'm not this like high maintenance kind of like demanding woman. I just need someone who's intellectually available and emotionally available and ready to really understand what a commitment is. And it's surprising that you'd find that a lot of men are completely oblivious to that.
No.
Yeah.
It's
They don't
very
really know
hard.
what they want, and you know, it's probably down to lack of experience. Some guys have so many girlfriends, so many different relationships, so many different intros to so many different women. It's kind of like, unless they've had a good training, are consumed with, can I get with this one? Can I get? And then it's down to status, how the girl is. Are they skinny? Have they got the good looks? Have they got a good body? Have they got the long hair? You know, have they got the light brown eyes? Have they got the perfect tan? All that sort of thing, you know. And like, you know, and so many guys come up with so many relationships and they have like, oh, these girls are crazy and blah, blah, blah.
Will the men make the women crazy?
Yeah,
It's true.
definitely.
It's
I
true.
refuse to
I
believe
agree.
a guy that says, "Oh, my ex was crazy." I'm like,
You're
what did
crazy.
what did you do to make her like
You're the
that?
crazy one.
Yes.
And Ashley, how do you feel? Do you feel like you've been a loser in love, or do you feel
Okay.
like
For me, like, I always look up to you because, just to me, I look up to Ashley because she's had long-term relationships, and you know, some of them are good, successful ones.
Yeah, in love, I don't feel like a loser because I've never really had a bad relationship. I've just had relationships that just weren't good enough, not up to standard. I've never had like a terrible experience. So I guess I've been lucky in that respect with who I've been with. My longest relationship is 12 years. I would say, yeah, it was successful. It ran its course, but I just didn't want to get married to that person. But now I do feel like a little bit like a loser because in the past 3 years since I've been single, I found it really difficult to find someone that I actually connect with.
yeah?
A lot of the men, as you said, emotionally unavailable, oblivious,
Not intellectually.
have no idea about how to treat a woman or how to talk to a woman. So yeah, at the moment I feel a bit of a loser, but I'm hoping that someone will come along. But to be honest, for me, my career has always been more important. So I feel like I'd feel like less of a loser if I had something more going on for myself at the moment. So I think that is the main thing for me. I've always placed value on my career, and I would still be happy if I had an amazing career and loads of money, but no man, I would still be happy. But it's because I haven't got that at the moment. I'm focusing on love.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you think there's like a pressure on women, but because we're black women, I'm gonna specify it to black women. Do you think there's a pressure for black women to be in a relationship with somebody and have that kind of situation where they are and they're with someone? Do you think there's a pressure on us for that?
Yeah, people look at you crazy if you're 30 and you haven't got a child. Like, I've had people come up to me like, oh, well, you haven't got a child. So there is a lot of pressure for you to be with someone. And if you're in your 30s and you're not married or don't have a child, people do look at you.
They think there's something wrong with
Yeah,
you.
they think there's something funny going on with you. So definitely.
I agree with that because a couple of years ago, maybe about 2 years ago, I remember we went out on a night out and it was in a nightclub and I was talking to this guy and then he was like, how old are you? And I told him my age and he was like, oh, have you got any kids? And I said, no. And he's like, why haven't you got any kids? It was so shocking to him. And he's like, well, why not? We need to get you married.
What's going on?
We need to get you married. We need to give you a child. We need to talk about something. Why? We need to make an arrangement. Why are you 30 and you haven't got a child?
He sounds insane.
And, you know, and to me it was like, is this really happening? Like, is this right? And I said, well, I understand I haven't got a child, but then to be fair, defending myself, I was like, I just didn't want to be ended up with riffraff. No offence, I don't want to be dealing with dramas and this and that because all things happen, and you know, at the end of the day, the child is an important thing. But for me, because I didn't have the money to support a child, you know, I wasn't going to put my position in myself in a position where I couldn't support a child. You know, and if I didn't need to, I didn't need to. And to be fair, I wasn't ready to have a child. You know, I wasn't equipped to have a child.
It's a big responsibility.
And, you know, going through at home and how I was living, you know, why should I put myself in a child if I don't need to?
Yeah. No, do you know what? You are completely... And the thing is, okay, so for me, I've got a completely different perspective on that. So I do have a son. And I had him quite early, like I mentioned before. And I felt like I was thrown in the deep end. It's something that happened. I got pregnant. I was in a relationship and I wasn't going to have an abortion. I said I won't have the baby and I'm just going to manage and figure it out. And I'm not going to lie to you. It was the first, 6 or 7 years of my son's life were some of the hardest I've ever experienced in my entire life. And it's only really been since about 2017 when I quit my job and started my own company that I've actually felt relatively comfortable in being a parent and knowing that I can provide fully for my son, which is crazy. But that is my experience. Yeah. So I completely understand when you say, well, I'm not going to have a baby if I know fully I can't afford to have a kid. I'm not going to, because it's a big responsibility. When you are responsible for another human being, making sure that person's fed, clothed, in a school, like all of that stuff, it can make or break you as a person. Yeah. Luckily for me, it made me as a person because it made me even more sort of ambitious and determined to try to be a success. But some people, when they have kids, if they're not in the right headspace or they're not financially in a good position or they don't have a good support system. That's another thing. I had a really good support system. My mom, my son's dad was readily available, always there. His family were always available. So I had a very good support system. So I could kind of maneuver and do the things that I needed to do. But if you don't have all of those things in place and you have a child, it can be and I really wish that some parents would be honest and say the truth about it. Can be so depressing to know that you have a kid and you can't get them the latest trainers or you can't get them the newest phone or a bike or because you're thinking about, well, I've got rent, I've got bills, I've got to put food. Like, that can be extremely depressing and it can really take a toll on you if you're in that position. And like I said, if it's not something that's going to make you and drive you to do better, it can really put you into a really deep, dark place. And I think people need to be more honest about that. And you're absolutely, like I said, you're absolutely right to say, I am not ready for that kind of responsibility. And people need to be honest about that. And I think saying it, and it's terrible that guy was like, well, how come you're 30? Because you haven't met the right kind of guy. Yeah. You need a person that's going to support you. You need someone who's going to, you're going to be pregnant for 9 months, right? So 2 of those months, you're going to be out of work. As soon as the baby's born, for 1 year, you need to be at home with your kid. The first year of your kid's life is one of the most important. And I felt so lucky to be able to spend 18 months at home with my son because, like I said, I had a really good support system.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. I would not advise anybody to have a child if you are not emotionally and financially ready to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And I think people need to be honest about it.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be shamed because you're in your 30s and you're not having a child.
Exactly.
Yeah, I experienced that shame a lot, especially from my parents. My mum says, oh, well, some people are getting grandchildren and I'm not getting a grandchild. And I'm thinking, I live in your house. How am I going to afford to take care of a child? Where is the child going to sleep?
In your bedroom.
And if I did give birth to a child, my mum would be like, oh, you're bringing these children up in my house. So it's a no-win situation. It makes no sense. Who's going to pay for this child? What money is going to be there to support this child?
I agree with
I feel like people aren't thinking when they say these things. They don't know your personal situation. And my mum does know my personal situation. So she should know that that's not the correct thing to say.
I think with parents, what we also have to take into consideration, and I'm not condoning the behaviour or whatever, I'm not saying it's right, but I think with parents, as much as we experience pressures, peer pressure, whatever you want to call it, they also experience pressure from their peers.
Yeah.
So if your mum, for example's group of friends have all got grandkids and she's the only one that can't talk about, oh, Timmy's tooth fell out or whatever, she's gonna feel some type of way about it. And even if she doesn't realise that she feels some type of way, it then comes back and they do kind of put it on their kids. It does happen.
I agree with you, because like my mum now, she's at an age, and you know, all her friends around her, all their daughters, all their kids are getting married. They've got this perspective of like, you know, oh, they're getting married, they're having kids, and they said, oh, I'm still waiting for my grandkids. Okay, so you know, there's 4 of us at home. You know, eventually we'll all start having kids, but we're not in all the right position to have these children. You know, and you know, due to circumstances, I agree with that, and you know, and I, as the eldest in my household, you know, I agree with that. I feel happy that she's got these experiences, and I know she can't join in that conversation, and I get now I understand. I get where you're coming from as a wanting, but you know, it's just not the right time.
Also, we're not in the 1960s.
Yeah.
A lot of women now want a career. Yeah. Listen, building a successful career, you're going to have to be working your ass off from the age of like 25, 26, 20, in your 30s, 34, 35. Yeah. You're going to be working your ass off for 10 years to get yourself in a position where you are fully comfortably financially. In that space, there's no time to be popping out no baby. Yeah. Only some people can do it, but it is very difficult, and it takes a lot of discipline and motivation. It's a lot of work. But I feel I don't blame women who have their careers and then have kids later on.
Because I think like as the time goes, and when you're back in the
60s,
you know, those times that women was able to stay at home, and you know,
and one salary would be enough.
Enough. And you know, as I think if we were living back in them times, or if it was like it today, we would have the opportunity to look after our kids, and while they're napping, right, we set our career on fire. But you can't do that, you know, these days, because mum and dad both have to go to work.
Yeah, pay the bills.
And a house isn't £100.
No, that's what I'm saying. You can't get a house for 20 grand now. No. You're looking at hundreds of thousands. 20 grand is the flipping deposit.
Exactly.
It's just we're not living in the same world. I feel like I feel so grateful that like my kid is not gonna have those kind of pressures on him. And the thing is, he's a boy as well, so that's also a whole different experience. But even if I had a daughter, I don't think I would be pressuring her at like 30, why haven't you given me a baby yet? When I see that she's probably trying to do something with her life. I think if she was just sitting at home kind of like lounging in the bed and not doing anything, then I'd be like, come on, get off your ass and do something.
Oh, cool.
But if I actively see that my kid is trying to do something in this world, I'm not going to be putting pressure, where's my grandkids? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I think we are the sort of the movers and the shakers now of how the change is going to be. Yeah. And I think it's up to us to kind of nip that kind of behaviour of our parents in the bud and kind of have a new outlook on how life is going to be. It's just not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And the expectations are going to be different. I think it's really difficult, especially for you guys who are in your almost mid-30s and no marriage, no husband. It's like your parents make you feel like you're failures. And you're not, though. In actual fact, the fact that you have been able to not get yourself in a position whereby you've had a baby with someone who, not saying that you would, but you may have had a baby with someone who may not have been there to support you, and you've got a child, and you've got this stressful burden on you to be a good parent, and you're doing it by yourself, and it's not easy.
But in some ways, I feel punished for not having a baby, because some of the people that I know that don't live at home are people with babies. And I feel like some of them manage to get support because they have babies. And I feel like
support from their families, or
support from families, and also support from the government.
Yes,
getting housing and all that. And then when you don't have a baby, obviously you don't get that support. And I understand they need the support for that. But I feel like there is a punishment a bit in society when you don't meet those expectations, both economically and socially, with how you're perceived. So even though, I must say this, I don't want children. I think
You're quite adamant about
95% sure that I don't want children.
Okay.
It has to be exceptional circumstances. But I feel a lot of pressure from people. That's my aunties and uncles. That's like the first thing they ask, you know, when you're having a child or when you're getting married. And it's just like, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating.
Yeah. I mean,
hard.
sometimes I go and see relatives and they say, oh, you've got no boyfriend and I'll put him down. I'm like, okay, just because your children have got like 5 million kids. I mean, not being rude, but like, you know, my cousin's got like, okay, so unfortunately, he had 7 kids. I mean, really, it's like, okay, I haven't even had one yet. I've left university and there's people on there that have had 3 kids, 4 kids, and it makes me feel like, well, actually, what have I been doing? I've been doing, but I've used my time, in a different way. I've travelled, I've gone to courses that I wanted to go to, things that I wanted to learn because I haven't got those things in front of me. But then it's other things that I've put my time and effort to ambition to grow those skills, and and that's where I put my time and energy, which is fine, and I get that it's fine, but is it enough?
I think as women, and I can only speak for you guys because I'm not in this, what I'm going to say, but as women who are in your 30s who haven't had children yet, you need to turn it around as not it being something that you are failures or losers, but you now have the opportunity to do whatever you want in your life without restriction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if you are able, because so I have a child, so I have to bear in mind that if I want to do something, I have to make the necessary arrangements for my son. Everything I do, I have to bear him in mind and make sure that he is catered for before I take a next step.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't have that responsibility. You are able to move freely, and if you want to travel, if you want to go on holiday, you can go. If you want to go and take a job in Scotland, you can go and do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing holding you back.
Yeah.
And I think that is what you need to look at it as that you have freedom of movement. You are able to really pursue whatever it is that you want to do without being restricted.
Yeah.
And I think you should look at that as a positive. I'm not saying that having a child and having a responsibility of a child is a negative thing, but I really do think that you should take into account that being able to move freely coming from someone who's not able to do that is something that you should really cherish as part of what you're able to do in life, and not look at it as something bad. Because having to, and I'm not going to lie, the thing is, I'm very honest, and I love my son and I love being a mum, but I have to be honest. It can be very frustrating to know that every aspect of my life has to be planned and arranged accordingly in order to fit my responsibility. I can't just get up and go somewhere. Do you understand what I mean? I have to make sure that, and I'm not, some parents don't care.
Yeah.
And they do what they want regardless of the kids. I'm not that type of parent. Yeah. And I'm just saying that being able to move freely is a positive thing. And it's something you should really be like, well, yeah, you know what, I can do what I want if I want to do it.
I do feel lucky I've got those, I can. So if I wanted to go out on a Friday night, I don't have that. I can just go.
I need a babysitter.
I'm going. I'm going, that's it. There's a party next door. I'm going because I can go. Part of me, I don't know why, sometimes I still feel guilty because I think, I've left my mum and she's at home on her own on a Friday night.
Girl.
And, and it's not like, it's, to be honest, it's, and sometimes...
You act like your mum's 80. You act like she's 85.
She's got her own boyfriend and her own life.
I know, but sometimes when she stays at home on weekends, I feel bad. Because
she needs to make plans with her friends.
Because I know, but then sometimes, like the other day, I was going out, because I went out the last Friday night, and then I was going out the Saturday, and she'd called me in the morning and said, do you want to go for lunch? And I was like, oh, sorry, Mum, I'm ready to go out. She goes, oh, okay. Sounded a bit disappointed. But then, I know. But sometimes, because, my brothers go out and they just...
Go out and enjoy themselves.
And that's it. And sometimes I do think, no, I'm going to go and I'm going to enjoy myself. And what is wrong with that? And I said that, and I think that if you want to sit at home and do that, that's you. But you need to go out. You need to experience. She did go out this weekend and she went with her friend, and I just thought, and she was saying, I am going to go out and enjoy it. And so you should. Why are you sitting at home waiting for anything?
honestly, like I say, what I said before, like, you just need to embrace the fact that you have the freedom of movement to do what you want. And that's what I'm saying. You forfeit that part of your life when you have kids. I'm not trying to deter you from having children, but what I'm saying is you've got to be honest about and realise realistically what you have to sacrifice to be a parent.
This is me, and and this is how I have to live my life, and and I have to embrace it, and then I could go where I want and do what I want, and I'm not going to let anybody stop me, because I've had all those sacrificing because of this, but sacrificing because of what? Because everybody's allowed to do whatever. I come home from work sometimes, the dishes haven't been washed, people at home sitting all day long, nobody's saying this, now that. It just does my head.
You shouldn't have to worry about that at all.
But then I can't stand looking at it because it does my head in,
girl.
and I shouldn't, because I should. Sometimes I come home, because I remember one weekend, I think Mum had gone somewhere, she took my brother back to uni, and then I come home and the dishes weren't washed, the living room was a tip, and all this, and I just thought, I'm not crying, I'm not tidying up nothing.
You go to
the next day, and I
I
said, I'm going to go home and lie in my bed, because some people can come home and lie in their bed and sleep all day, sleep all night, and then get up and go in the night, and I've got to get up for work in the morning. And it occurred to me that, why am I bothering? Why should I bother? I sometimes I come home and I just don't do anything. And I thought, for the last week, I'm not doing anything. I'm not washing up. I'm not doing anything.
What are your thoughts, actually?
I definitely think you shouldn't be taking on that responsibility. I understand why you do, because you feel like the most responsible person. You care about your mom. You care about the state of the house.
And you're naturally a responsible person.
So I understand why you do.
You make a very brilliant mother.
Sometimes you need to let go a little bit, I think, with that situation. But I completely understand where you're coming from. In terms of my situation, I have different issues. So I feel like my problems are like self-inflicted. So you could say, you couldn't do certain things because you had a child. You could say, I can't do certain things because I have a big family. I've got to care for my mom. I come from a 2-parent household. I have a mother and a father still living together.
You're basically from a 2.4 family.
Yeah, so that should be like perfect, right?
Yeah.
But that brings its own problems. But I'll talk about that in another podcast. But my problem is the depression. Yeah. So I suffer from depression. And it's a hard thing to explain to people, because people, when I talk to them, they think I have potential to do things, but I just cannot see it in myself. And I can't make myself do anything. Like, some days I find it really difficult to even get out of bed. Some days I don't get out of bed. I just stay in bed. And I'm very lucky that I'm in a position that I can do that, because my parents, I'm living with them, so I'm not paying my own bills. I'm unemployed at the moment due to COVID, so I can do that, even though I do pay them rent. But having depression is really hard, because it's like your brain is not cooperating with you. And if I was in a wheelchair and I couldn't do these things, I think I would have like a lot more sympathy. But because you can't see the depression, you don't get as much sympathy, and it's like, what's wrong with you? But it really is, your brain just turns off, and I can't move. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can't be ambitious anymore. I'm really drained. In my 20s, I just spent my whole time working really hard on my career and studying. And then now I'm just like totally burned out, and I can't do anything. And I've been this way now for nearly 3 years, and it's just really tiring. Like, I'm tired of myself. So that's another reason why I feel like a loser, because I just cannot get out of this depression. I literally don't know how. So it's really difficult, and it's hard for people to understand, because they don't have an excuse.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, like, do you find it difficult for people to understand where you're coming from when you tell them, or when you express the fact that you feel this way?
No, generally people don't understand, because I don't have a crazy backstory.
Okay.
So I'm not like, this happened to me, or I was abused, or I don't have a crazy backstory. So it's like, you're living a life. What's wrong with you? You're living with your parents. Wow. People say to me, I wish I was living with my parents. Ha 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 ha. But it's not good. It makes you feel even more depressed when you're living with your parents, and you can't have your own space. I don't feel like a grown up. I'm 34 and I still feel like a child. I get treated like a child from my parents. Our relationship hasn't had that natural development that the parent-child relationship should have, because I haven't moved out. So that is really depressing, and I literally don't know how to get out of it. I don't choose to be this way. So yeah, that's one reason why I feel like a loser.
But like, you know, saying that people around you don't understand, I must admit, at one point, all the things that you were saying, I did say that, but now, because I've reached it, and there's a few of my friends I know, I feel like now I understand it, because before I didn't understand how you felt, but like now I can relate to how you feel. Not that I feel depressed myself, but I can understand when you don't want to do things, and don't want to be certain places, and I do understand that now. Yeah. And I'm sorry it's taken me a long time.
It's alright.
But like now I do understand how you feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I fully understand how you feel. Having experienced depression myself, it's not even just depression, but depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
You feel like there is just no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And that can be a very frustrating experience. So I fully understand what you say when you feel like you don't know how to get out of it. And it can be very difficult to figure out how to step out, and it can be difficult to find the motivation to do things and to kind of try and see how you can make your life better. But I think what you're doing at the moment, talking about it, is a huge step.
Yeah.
It's important to obviously express how you feel to people who understand, and obviously empathise and sympathise with whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah.
And like I say, having conversations like this really do help, because you realise you're not the only person that feels that way.
Yeah.
You're not the only person that's having these experiences. And I think it is really important for these conversations and topics to happen, just so you have an outlet, and also, like I say, you realise that you're not alone in how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are lots of women who are in exactly the same position and feel exactly the same, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know a way out of this kind of funk. But I mean, like I said, moving forward, like talking about it is in itself a form of therapy.
Yeah.
But we all kind of deal with depression, whether it be depression, anxiety, these things that affect us in our minds. And I feel like within our community as black people, we're always taught to not really talk about those things, or not really to bring them up.
Yeah.
Or hush that, don't talk about that, brush that under the rug. So I think, now more than ever, we should encourage more people to talk about it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're all trying to run the same race. It's just how we're getting there.
Exactly.
How we
get in the end. I think every single person has that feeling, whether it's every day or once a week or once a month or whatever, of feeling like a loser. I don't think we are isolated in that feeling.
Sometimes it's hard. This is why I deleted my Instagram, because on the Instagram you see, I know it's just a snapshot of somebody's life, the happy times, someone's gone to a party or gone on a holiday, but on Instagram all I could see was just like happy people.
No, but you've got to look at Instagram.
So I deleted it.
You've got to look at Instagram as you're looking at things through rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it is. It's not reality. These people kind of create scenarios and post them to give a perception of how their life is. Yeah. But once you really get to know those people, you then begin to realise, actually, your life isn't really that great.
Because I've seen people celebrating anniversaries, children, and they're growing up, and it's their first home, this fantastic holiday.
But they never show the stress and the and the aggro to get to that point. Yeah. They only show you the end destination, like what's happening, how, the end product. It's never, we went to create a house, but we were denied by this bank, that bank, this bank. I had to get a loan from here, so and so. They said we couldn't get this place, but they only show you, look, keys to the new house. Yeah. But you have no idea. They will never show you the journey to get to that. And I think that's how you have to look at social media. Yeah. And fortunately, for us, being sort of millennials or whatever, we didn't grow up with social media, so we are still kind of in that phase where reality sort of really does live in our minds, and we can sort of say, well, actually, maybe they're showing that, oh, I've got a perfect relationship, but on the outside it's not that great. Whereas I think the ones coming up now who live on social media really cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's fake.
Yeah. I mean, intellectually, I know that it's a lot of it is fake. We're only looking at the positive parts of the person's life. But when you are depressed,
it doesn't help.
It makes you feel like crap.
Yeah.
So I just deleted my Instagram, and it just made me feel even worse, and it made me feel even more that I'm not achieving what I'm supposed to achieve. I'm not as happy as I'm supposed to be. I mean, I always thought in my 30s, I remember with my best friend when I was about 14, we used to sit up late at night talking about our future and what's going to happen. I always thought I was going to get married when I was 19 years old. 19 seemed really old. And thought I was going to have kids. I thought I was going to have a fabulous career as a lawyer. And it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? It's really embarrassing. Like when people
embarrassing
when people ask me,
it's not embarrassing. Actually, it's life. And I think it's not embarrassing at all because you haven't done anything that is embarrassing. You haven't done anything remotely embarrassing that you should feel ashamed of in your life.
But I haven't achieved my potential.
But there's still time for you to do that. There's still time.
I just don't have hope. That's the thing. If I had something that I was super passionate about and I was like, yes, I need to do this, I would have hope. But I have no passions. I have no life. I have no motivation. And I just don't see any hope. Literally, and this sounds really morbid. Trust me, I'm not suicidal.
No.
But I'm just waiting to die. That's literally how I feel. I'm just kind of waiting it out.
I think there's that. But I think there's some. But to be
that's
fair,
very morbid.
It is, but I think there's some people that are like that. There's some people that do think that.
I know, and I understand that there are people that think that. But I think me being I have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Me being a cancer survivor, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I was given a second chance.
Yeah.
So I'm just grabbing
everything.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I totally get that.
I honestly feel like if you really felt like your life was about to be snatched from you, like how I felt, like my life was going to be snatched away from me, your perspective on life really does change. And you start to realise that being successful and having this amazing career or having this amazing husband and blah blah are really not that important. It's more so, am I happy today? Did I have a good day? Did everything today happen positively? Do you understand what I mean?
Those things, yeah.
Rather than, oh my god, I'm 35 and I haven't got a husband and blah blah. No, it's kind of like you start to appreciate and cherish every day.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm looking at life. But then again, it's because of my experience.
Yeah.
So my life experience have changed my perspective, my outlook on life completely.
Yeah.
And I'm not as money orientated or goal orientated as, I still want to make some good money and I still want to be successful but it's not my driving force anymore.
Yeah. And I totally get where you're coming from, because when I had my mum's diagnosis and when I went through all that, because I didn't do a lot of things, I got switched off and I said, what am I doing? Am I going to pass my life and not worry about these things and worry about what everybody says and what everybody thinks about me? And and through that experience, my mum, it just goes to show you that some people don't care. Some people didn't care. I didn't have this, the people that I thought that supported me just didn't. And you know what, I learned to live and just carry on and just do perspective, and that's why I learned to carry on with my life and to do me, because it was all about other people and what I'm doing for other people, and it shouldn't be like that. It's what it's what I have to live my life as well, and what I want to do and what I want to achieve, and that's one of the things I learned.
I think as well, you've got to look at, what do you enjoy? Even if it's the tiniest thing of, I like to eat a Kit Kat bar. That gives me, I'm not talking about myself, I'm just giving you an example, because I hate Kit Kat.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. It's horrible.
It's so bland.
Horrible.
Well, I tell you what, when I was at school, I used to eat one every single
Oh,
day.
I hate Kit Kat.
And you know what now? And I cannot eat. Chocolate does not taste the same as it used to.
Well, let me just finish my
Yes,
point. Right. So, what I'm saying was, you got to think of what, even if it's the most minuscule thing, what makes me feel good. I'm not going to talk about Kit Kat. What I enjoy the most is going on holiday. Is travelling.
That's the only time I'm happy.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So if your mindset is, okay, I mean, obviously we're in bloody COVID at the moment, so ain't no one going anywhere. But if your mindset is on, do you know what? I'm going to work towards or figure out how I'm going to go on this next trip. And that becomes your only thought, and your mind is focused on that. You'll start to realise that all these other negative crap don't mean nothing, because I'm focused on, I'm about to go on my next holiday. It could, like I say, it could be the most minuscule thing. Like, I enjoy eating Kit Kat bars. I hate them. But if going out to the corner shop and buying the 4 bar of Kit Kat and coming home, breaking it off and eating it, for that 5 minutes you're eating that bar makes you feel good, and it's something that makes you feel good anytime you do it, then do that every day. Do you understand what I mean?
But there are consequences to that.
Not from eating one Kit Kat bar.
No, but...
I'm not saying eat a whole load of chocolate.
No, in terms of doing things that make you happy.
Okay,
I mean,
ahead.
that was my philosophy when I first got the depression.
Right.
Because I'd not done hardly anything to make me happy.
That
I
you
never
enjoy.
really went on holiday in my 20s because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
Because I was studying. And I decided, I'm going to do things to make me happy. And I was constantly eating, like constantly. Playing video games.
But did those things make you genuinely happy though?
In the moment, but it doesn't help me towards future goals. It also makes you more depressed because you know you're using it as a way to avoid
what you're dealing with.
Yeah, the reality of the situation and the goals that you should be achieving. So sometimes I feel like it's really good advice, but sometimes I feel like I've gone the other way. I've done so much of what I like to avoid reality.
What you're actually feeling.
Yeah, and today I just spent the whole day playing computer games.
But do you feel like if you, if when you do address how you feel, does that make you feel better or worse?
It makes me feel okay in the moment. Like, it's always good to talk.
Right.
But I still feel there's no solution. How do I get better? I've tried antidepressants. I've tried different types. And they either make me sleep a lot, like make me feel even
How
worse.
about therapy?
I've been
to
to
therapy.
6 counsellors.
Okay.
You're
a special case.
I feel
No,
like
I'm
my
joking.
problems are so in depth. Like,
yeah.
I need a lot of help. And I don't even have the money for counselling anymore. And I just feel kind of stuck. And it's like, I feel guilty about it
No,
as
but
well.
you shouldn't feel guilty
I
about
do,
it. You're
because
entitled,
like,
you're entitled to feel
I
how
haven't
you
had any
feel.
real problems
But
in life.
No, but your feelings are valid. Like, you never should feel guilty about how you feel, Ashley. Yeah? How you feel, you are entitled to how you feel. No one should make you feel bad about it. I, myself, have been to therapy. Because I had a very horrible couple of years. And I needed to speak to someone about, because I don't feel like I processed all the stuff that happened to me properly. So I realised and understood that, okay, I need to speak to a therapist about this. And it helped me. It helped me really compartmentalise all the things that were happening and why they were happening and why I felt the way I did about certain things. If you say that you've tried counselling and it hasn't really helped or whatever it is, fine. It doesn't mean that you're beyond fixing or it's beyond fixing, it's beyond repair.
Just might be
But
another
don't
way.
feel bad about how you feel. You're entitled to those feelings. You're entitled to be upset. You're entitled to be angry. You're entitled to be happy. You're entitled to experience every emotion
I think
that
it
you
comes
have.
from my parents, because whenever I was upset about anything, my dad especially would say, look, there are people in the world, with no food, what are you moaning
But
about?
and
And that always rings in my mind
Your
all the time.
emotions should never be negated by anybody. If you feel bad about something, okay, yes, there might be someone in Somalia starving, but that's not your reality right now. You are in this moment, you feel like this, and as a human being you're entitled to feel that way. Yes, it's awful that so and so in Somalia hasn't got food to eat, but there's nothing you can do about that right now.
Yeah.
But what you can do is acknowledge that you feel this way.
Yeah.
Figure out why you feel that way, and then try to, if you can, fix it. There's nothing wrong with, and I hate that as black people, we're always told to, you're not supposed to be angry. You're not supposed to be. I hate that.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I realised I had to even tailor my parenting to allow my son to express how he feels. Yeah. Obviously in a respectful manner, but if he's angry about something, there's every right to feel angry. He's a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times we're not allowed to be human beings, especially in a parent-child relationship.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You're not allowed to show any anger. You're not allowed to show any sadness. You know, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
So I think that makes us, you know, hold things in.
And that's the problem. And you hold things and you explode.
I do that a lot. I just keep my mouth
shut. I never see you angry. Depressed.
I don't know. You have this ability to take a lot before it really. Do you understand what I mean? I don't know how good that is for you. I don't think it's great because you don't really express.
I don't. And then if my mum says things and I'm seething. I'm absolutely seething.
But you don't say anything.
I keep my mouth shut because she'll just make moans because, you know, sometimes I'm really seething. Some things I say, I just have to leave the room or do other things because I'm seething. I'm actually livid.
So I've stopped doing that. I don't do that anymore. If I'm upset about something or someone's pissed me off, I will do it in a tactful way, but I don't hold in any of my emotions anymore because it's not good for me.
No.
And I had to learn that via therapy. I had to learn that my emotional state, if I'm upset or angry about something, I have every right to feel that. So I guess the question is, are we losers? That's the ending question, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right. Are we losers?
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to the CANA Girls podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did. Be sure to check out our next episode and follow us on Instagram at the CANA Girls.